Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is Halo, the series, streaming exclusively on Paramount+. Here to discuss, as always, Spartan 116 himself, Chris Trio.
That is my designation. How'd you get that right, Gooch? How are you?
Good, man. I'm good.
You excited to talk about Halo Season 1?
I don't know if excited's the right word. I think if anything, I'm looking forward to going on like some sort of lore rant.
I'm actually excited to do that too. Just maybe in the opposite direction. But what'd you think, Gooch? What did you think of the Halo series? Just ballpark it for me.
Not good.
All right.
Not good. I wouldn't recommend a Halo fan watch this. I wouldn't recommend a non-Halo fan watch this. This show is all over the place, and it has some redeeming qualities. The practical armor looks fantastic. The fight scenes, though there are few of them, look, sound, and the way they did the stunts, all looks pretty good. But they're too far and few between to really make that a big positive. But this show is just... They really should have stuck to the lore. They really... And maybe not making the show canon, but it's clear the writers don't know Halo. They have no idea what Halo is besides looking at a few trailers and knowing who Master Chief is and knowing some like key story beats. Like, they really didn't get in the trenches enough with this series to be able to recreate a show like any fan could. Because you're watching it, and of course, Master Chief takes his helmet off in the first episode. And from then on, he's in his armor maybe 20% of the show. And it's like, guys, hello. It's Master Chief.
Excuse me.
That armor is iconic. And of course, I could go on and on, but what do you think? Are you in line with me, or are you kind of more positive?
I'm probably more positive.
Okay.
I disagree that these people don't know Halo. I think they know more Halo than the average Halo fan from these. They've brought in a lot. I'm excited to be schooled on some of the lore because from my base knowledge, they seem to have nailed most of it, in my opinion, in the way of like what the setup for the Spartan program. Halsey's characterization's perfect for me. I think there are very redeeming qualities within some of the characters here. I like Pablo Schreiber, but not necessarily in this role. It's all over the place, and it sucks. They chose to focus on aspects of the lore and of the story that I wouldn't necessarily wouldn't have cared about or even thought of. I do think there are some interesting stories within those if they treated it the right way, which I don't think they did in certain respects, and in other respects, I actually enjoyed a lot. Like you said, I think all over the place is genuinely the best way to describe this for me. Would I recommend watching this? Yeah. I mean, if you're a Halo, watch the first episode. I mean, see what get a free fucking pass. But I think looks wise, like you said, it looks good, which I appreciate. There are some issues with some of the CGI and some of the sets, but overall, I think the things look Halo. A grunt looks like a grunt. A Spartan looks like a Spartan. An elite is a bit thicker than I would have expected, but
they got different armor.
So it's the armor, and I feel like they're a bit
in that first episode. They have more stone-ish looking armor, not like alien futuristic armor, and more looks like alien prehistoric looking armor. It looks stony. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I get what you mean. But yeah, overall, man, I think Cortana, I liked
Cortana too.
But then
hard not to like Cortana.
Hard not to like her.
Cortana.
It's Cortana bringing in, what's her name? Who does the voice? I forget all the time.
Jen Taylor.
The right move. Absolutely the right move. And I think it does add an element to that character.
There's a lot of moves that I wouldn't agree with, but
that one I do. Did they change up her hue? By the time, because I feel like I remember in the first trailer for the show, her skin tone was a lot more pale. It wasn't as blue. It was more like actual skin. I don't know.
I think her skin tone is actual skin tone.
Yeah, I guess I feel like they pumped up the blue since. Either way, I liked it. I think she looks good, and I think the CGI looked really, really good for her. And like you said, it was funny. I was confused. I was like, "Who is playing Cortana?" You're like, "Well, it's the girl who plays Halsey." I'm like, "It is," and then it's like, "Oh yeah, she was de-aged."
Her model.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense because that is what Halsey does in the game, obviously." Yeah, so a bit of a mixed bag for me, Gooch. I think overall I enjoyed it more than I would have because I kind of binged these last 5 episodes, and I just had been seeing the reviews of like, this is shit.
Master
I hate
Chief.
this. Master Chief's in the gutter. Look at his ass.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh geez. But then I watched them. I'm like, this wasn't.
Master Chief lost his virginity.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, oh, this wasn't as bad as I feel like I was reading, but yes, there's some shortcomings for sure.
I think you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I wanted to go deeper just to see if that's what you mentioned. I think one of the best characters in the show is Spartan Kai.
I agree.
Because I don't mind them pursuing this. Spartans have no emotions. What happens when they realize it? But not through Master Chief. You know, I didn't want to see Master Chief goes through that journey, and Spartan Kai also does. And like seeing Master Chief be emotional is horrible to me because he's not. He is in his own way, but he's not this like talkative, like worrying about all this stuff. Like the Master Chief in the show is just a far cry from what he is in the games. And he almost doesn't deserve the title of Master Chief. I never felt like this was Master Chief. Like he was deserved of that title. You know,
Sure.
It just felt like totally off base to me.
One thing MacGuffin I didn't appreciate was, and I hate this trope in any movie or show, they put something in a person that they can easily cut out. The emotional chip or whatever that they just...
Right. And
I would have appreciated it more if it wasn't that it was this pill that he was taking every day. It was the training and augmentations he went through the Spartan program that made all of them emotional. Like, because that's what makes them...
it in the lore.
And that's how I expected it. That's how I assume it would be too. I wouldn't have expected it to be like some type of what are they even? It's like emotional suppressant or something, and it's literally like a weird little
and they cut it out of their spine, and like that's when we see Master. You know, probably
put it in their like heart. Put it somewhere they can't cut it out. That's what I'm saying. Anywho, but yeah, that was one MacGuffin I didn't really love, but I did love the whole Kai story of her really kind of discovering like, oh, this is what they were talking about. I was not a fan, and I'm sure you loved it, of the whole storyline on Madrigal and things like that.
Oh, I hate it.
I know, I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic.
Soren and Quan, trash. That
genuinely,
all that shit,
you could have cut that all.
Cut that shit out. Throw it in the trash.
So what was the? I'm not gonna lie. I was on my phone most of that episode.
Oh, 7? Oh my god.
What was she saying? Like she's like, okay, they protect the planet, right? The Quans, yeah, right. They're the Quans.
Haas.
The Haas. I'm sorry. Yeah, her name's Quan.
Quan Ha.
Yeah, like what
was the
does
point
she have
of
something to do with the halos? Like, do they have?
That's what I was kind of getting at. Are they like? Do they like protect the location of the rings? I don't really know.
No, yeah.
And guess what, Trio? I don't really care too much either. I didn't think either of those actors were good in those roles.
I didn't really care
I didn't like
for
this
her either,
ex-Spartan dude who like, why is his hand fucked up and why is he really still wearing his Spartan armor?
I genuinely had those exact same 2 questions in my mind. I'm like, what happened to your arm? Because it looks like a big weird crab
Why
hand.
are you using a revolver that isn't in the Halo universe? Another thing that really bugs me, I forget the Black Spartan's name, and I don't want to just keep calling him. If you want to, I don't want to just call him Black Spartan. I feel bad.
I feel like it starts with a V.
Anyway, that character until I get his name.
Yeah.
Like he uses a DMR and he's shooting it automatic, and I'm sitting here like, oh, battle rifle's the same thing. Vanek. Yeah. And
so
like,
BRs, they were shooting bursts at least in one major scene for the most part.
And I noticed one scene they didn't.
And then they must have. So interesting.
And you know, I think one gripe with the trailer, why is there a fucking Honda Civic or whatever the fuck Honda Toyota truck is in the shot? Why do we have real guns, AKs, and like I'm like, you guys, I'm like, clearly didn't study the lore of the design of the game. I'm like, they don't have any real analogs to anything in real life in terms of weapons and vehicles. I'm like, there are concepts. I'm like, look at Halo 2. Like, they go to Earth and there are vehicles there. It's like, why didn't you commit yourself to recreating those designs in the game or in the show?
Mean, but like visually, they are all there. Like visual, like everything is visual. Like you see all of the weapons.
The last episode, the Spartans have the normal Magnum, and then McKee is using like
in
the
earlier episodes they do
a normal pistol, like a normal looks like a Smith and Wesson.
At which point?
At the end, remember she kills a guard and steals his pistol. It's a normal real life pistol.
Where is this? Is on Reach?
This is at the end when she escapes.
Interesting. I did not catch that. Yeah, no, I think that
and she pulls a pistol from a guard and she's like, "Where's the Covenant Phantom?" And she tells him, and she goes off.
I remember. So that's not a Magnum.
It's a normal real life pistol. It is not the Halo Magnum.
So okay,
that's my annoyance. It's like there's no other pistol besides that handgun.
I have a question for you. Would you have been able to forgive some of those, like, because listen, the minutia stuff like that. No, we care. You care more.
I care.
I'm sort of like, that's weird. Like, but I think if the story was a bit stronger, we could ignore these aspects a bit more.
I think you're right.
I think I don't get really. I try not to get caught up in these more minute lore things because no show's going to do it. There are some blatant ones where I agree with you. It's like, just look at something. Just look at the game for 5 minutes and you would know that's not true. That's what I mean when I say they do know Halo in some weird ways.
Like one example.
But then they don't.
Kai Sniper doesn't have a bipod. I don't really care.
Sure.
All the snipers in Halo have bipods.
Sure.
Every single one of them in every single game.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not annoyed that hers doesn't have one. Honestly, it makes her weapon more unique to her character.
Sure. Yeah.
And like going back to Kai, I going back to that like emotional Spartan becoming emotional and kind of like learning how to be normal again kind of storyline. I like that with her, but with Master Chief, it's not good. And I think it would have been more interesting to see Master Chief react to one of his comrades going through that. What would video game Master Chief like have to say about that?
No, it's true.
You know,
like video game Master Chief, I'm sorry, would be very boring.
I think it's just more. I think
there's a way to
because you can tell some more story around him, not about him.
I think there's a show that has proven that you can do a very stoic main character in which you barely see his face, and you just named it. And I think there is a way to do that with Master Chief, and that is more in line with his character. But I do also think, and I mentioned this in our Discord, that there is a bit of revisionist history when it comes to Master Chief.
Yeah,
he's not as deep as a, and
he's not deep.
If I'm going straight off the games too. Listen, I know there's a bunch of lore, and I know there's. I wasn't personally very offended when they were like, "We're starting from scratch on this series lore wise. We're just doing our own thing." Because I think that to get your general audience in, they don't. That's a lot of messy shit.
And I think that's where I can get over them doing other stuff. But Master Chief, Cortana, like there are those core characters that I'm like, I think you should try to remain them the same. And like we look at Halsey, Captain Keyes, and Miranda Keyes. They did them very differently. Instead of Miranda taking after her dad, she takes after her mom, and they all have a relationship, which they really don't in the games.
Sure.
Miranda's totally disowned from Halsey,
yeah.
And Jacob seems to have disowned her at the point that we see him in the game. He cares for her, but like they're not interacting.
Well,
at that point that we see them.
Well, they're not interacting like his father and daughters, especially like they just seem to be like working together.
Right, and Miranda's the same way. Like totally like, there's no scenes with them together and she doesn't even reference her. So it's weird kind of seeing her take after her mom but also hate her mom. And I watch a lot of like the Halo Declassified series that Sydney Goodman hosted, and they kind of do interviews and stuff. Yeah. And I was listening to an interview with her actress and I was like, okay, like she's clearly like understands like what she's doing in terms of the story, but like at the same time, like there's something about it that like just pisses me off. And same with Keyes, like I'm just like it seems like too much. Like I
think they're diving into aspects of the characters that exist and they are canon and they are right. But they are diving into the aspects that we necessarily didn't think they were going to, or maybe you don't want to, you being the euphemistic you. And I think that's fair. But to get back to Master Chief in the way of like, in those first 3 games, he barely says 20 lines, I think. Maybe 40. I don't know. You need to give him something. But I think you can give him something that's closer in line to what we get within these games, that satisfies people who know this character while giving him a bit of flavor that makes him more of a interesting character and someone that you want to watch grow. And I think they've done some special things, especially in some of the later games. 4, I still think, has some of the best story beats out of any Halo game after replaying all of it.
Halo Re3's up now, all 37 episodes.
Nailing that relationship.
Whole Halo.
All the way through.
Yeah.
At the core, Halo is about the relationship between Master Chief and Cortana. And by the end of this season, I'm so confused.
Right, and I don't want to get to that.
I don't want to get there. I just to say,
it's also like, and they interviewed Jen Taylor. Sydney Goodman interviewed Jen Taylor, and she was talking about how it's really interesting doing Cortana in this because Master Chief and Cortana don't have a good relationship, and I almost don't like that because I don't think it gives Cortana enough interaction with Master Chief to like be of quality. You know,
you don't think that payoff by the end was warranted?
Because I don't think like, and then all of a sudden Master Chief's like, okay, Cortana, now I'm listening. It's like, what did she do?
She saved him. Like, I think that their relationship growing into less of an antagonistic one worked for me more. But I understand what you're saying.
And like Halsey uses Cortana differently than she does in the games.
She is in his skull, right? Instead of in the game. In the games, she's only within his suit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's never...
And she's in his brain.
Yeah. Yes. Within the... I'm still confused about the games. In the game, she is not a Forerunner AI, right?
No.
She is a Flash clone. She is that in she's not in his head in the game, but the process by which she was created, is that similar in the game?
I don't know.
She's not like a Flash clone, like turned into an AI.
Yeah. No.
Interesting.
So I think she's a combination of like a human artificial intelligence with a Forerunner technology.
Gotcha.
Like I think there's a combination there of things, but no, she's not a Flash, which I thought was kind of interesting, the Flash clone thing.
They really capitalized on that. Another thing in the lore that I just heard.
Yeah, and they like the Spartans are replaced with Flash clones, but I always got a sense that the Spartans sort of understood, at least when they got older, the situation they were in. 1, their loyalty to the UNSC is unrivaled. 2, their loyalty to Halsey is unrivaled. All of them are dedicated to Halsey, and they clearly respect her. Even Master Chief, even like Noble Team, like they're a little cocky with her, but they know her like importance. And you see that with George, especially when he calls her mom.
He's just saying ma'am. It's just his accent.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Remember we went over this?
Yeah, we did go over that.
Which is fun. I did think he said mom too.
Yeah. And it's just weird to see Master Chief try to like almost kill Halsey to make a point, and like the other Spartans are like going at each other, and I'm like, I don't know. Like,
see, we had this.
I don't like how they make the UNSC the villain. I don't think they are. They don't focus enough on the Covenant at all. No, more or less them being the villain, which they are. They don't focus on the Covenant at all. And I don't really like the McKee storyline is strange to me. And I don't like how they make them speak a different language. I almost feel more...
The
prophets.
Oh, see, that worked. That doesn't work for you, really?
It doesn't work for me because I don't feel connected to the Covenant in this.
But I think that's exactly the point. Like, they're the aliens. They're the bad guys.
Right, but in Halo 2, you start seeing the inner workings of the Covenant and what's going on with them. And we do get that kind of storyline here, but not enough of it to be like, the Covenant's kind of interesting. Like, what is the Covenant doing? Like, it's almost like a Halo 1 perspective where they're aliens, they're bad, we kill.
No, absolutely. But I guess... I think them speaking in other language is actually a cool touch, in my opinion. I think that's a cool touch. I think that's more immersive. I would have liked to seen more of the inner workings of the Covenant, I think that will come with the next season that was apparently greenlit before we even got this first season.
We are getting a season 2 of this, yeah.
And apparently it's rating well. I mean, they keep bragging about how it's bringing them in subscribers and stuff like that.
Oh, of course it is. I mean,
it's Halo. But
and Paramount Plus has all the Star Trek stuff and now the South Park stuff, and like I only subbed to Paramount Plus a little bit before Halo to watch the South Park specials.
Yeah.
And this is
Sure.
these are my only experience with Paramount Plus, and I'm not really a big fan of the app. Why the fuck do I have ads in the show?
You do?
You don't?
No. Well, so my friend Super
Maybe
helps.
Maybe I'm paying.
We
for
have a bit of a
lesser-
deal going.
So maybe I'm paying for a lesser.
You probably
thing.
have the lesser subscription or whatever
Okay.
for the plebs.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh
Maybe
man,
that-
you watch with commercials.
Yeah,
Ew.
I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, that was probably disgusting.
Yeah.
No.
It was kind of jarring.
But no, see, we had this discussion. I always would have assumed that they didn't know that they were stolen from their family.
I see at a certain you would I don't know if that's technically right, because
No, I'm just telling you based off of the greater what I've experienced. I would have, if you asked me, do they know? I would have been like, no.
I think they know that they were abducted. The Flash clone thing, on the other hand, I don't think they know.
That's what I meant.
We do see a story where the girl goes back to her home and there's a version of herself there.
Yeah.
And I think I brought it up. What was it called? It's in the Halo Legends thing, but and it's cool. But
Again, I'd be
it doesn't
curious-
make her go off the fucking rails.
No, it's true, but I think the also idea here, which again I don't necessarily like this emotional suppressant thing. I would like to see the Master Chief in the game find out that he was abducted. I would like to see that, that more stoic guy of and he's kind of sitting there, less emotional, more just sitting there dealing with the fact of well, how many lives have we saved, or where would he wash out on this? This isn't a Master Chief who has his emotions, who is dealing with it like a soldier would. And yeah, I don't necessarily love that either. One scene I did love was with Kai when she's first on the battlefield after she's taken it out, and she's kind of having a panic attack. Almost, it seems like she's like, "What the fuck is happening?" That's when Chief goes down and saves all them. I thought that was interesting. I thought that's a cool idea, but I don't like that MacGuffin of the emotional suppressant pill thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that works very well.
And if they only did it with Kai, I think I think it would have been more impactful. But then
Sure.
Master Chief's you're compromised, and he's you took out your chip too.
Hey, pal.
Literally
You took out your little pill too. All right, I don't want to hear it.
Honestly, you're more off the rails than she is.
You piece of
And
shit.
that again, I gotta hit that point. It is so weird to see Master Chief so emotional. To a point
when you say,
and I get it, but he's not fucking human. Master Chief is this even to me as a fictional character, Master Chief is this this symbol of true heroism.
and they do, and the
He's a
idea is
soldier.
they are exploring that idea that the Spartans are the next stage in human evolution, and that's what Halsey's kind of going for.
Right, and
That's interesting, but in the games, I always thought the idea was that it was the Spartan plus the AI working in tandem that makes them that next generation of human almost. You are obviously a superhuman as a Spartan, but having that AI companion is what...
Master Cortana is the only one of her kind. Not
So
the
no
other
other
Spartans
Spartan
don't have
but that, and I
AIs.
thought that's what made him so special. Was that was the idea too, that he
Right.
he was chosen by Cortana too. Also,
Right.
and that's the other thing that they kind of take away in this. Halsey chose Cortana for him, but I guess the idea
But
is
she
that
has
he
ulterior
is,
motives with Cortana totally taking over his body, and they're even one thing
that whole aspect I didn't love.
I do like Halsey in the show.
I was about to ask. Literally,
I think
good
her
segue.
diabolicalness is shown a little bit too much. I think Halsey in the games is diabolical, but you almost
Bit more
never
reserved.
know it because it is so reserved, right? But in this, it's they clearly have to show Halsey being super evil and super emotionless about things. Her conversation with Jacob Keyes once she's in prison and she's under house arrest, right? Before they are gonna go ship her off. And they have this conversation. She's yeah, I'll do anything for humanity. But the Cortana or the Halsey in the games wouldn't say it. She would just do it. She doesn't need to prove anything to anybody.
Sure.
And
Sure.
that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I'm like, okay, for the show, I'm cool with it. But again, Halsey makes Cortana to help Master Chief, not to control him.
No, I know. I didn't like that whole idea that like Cortana would just take him over, which
she does.
In the
last episode, which is interesting because they almost set up the game's version of Master Chief.
But that's right. But they don't though, because it's just Cortana.
Right, in the game, just being there, yeah, but like,
but no, but Master Chief and like that's what made me go, what the fuck was that? Like, I actually was pretty on board until the last, and I'm like, I get like, so you're trying to set up the Chief, but now it's just there's no dual person, it's just Cortana apparently has taken over. Like, it would just be Cortana with no Chief, like that whole interaction with them is non-existent. That means like. I don't understand what the fuck the idea was there.
Right. Because she did say, hey, this may be like an
irreversible thing. Which it won't be.
Which it
but
won't
like,
be.
I just still, like, it will be reversible, I mean.
Yes.
It just seems, what are we doing?
Right.
What's this point? What's the point here? The idea, I feel like, should have been at the end there, her going, Chief, no. Like, she should have been there as the AI helping him do battle. Like, she should have been the reason he won, but because she is there basically battle analyzing for him on the fly. It shouldn't have been her just taking him over.
I'm going to take you over, and we're not a team.
No, it's just me.
Right.
No, it should have been her being like, on your right, behind you, frag grenade coming, like, her kind of being like, they are the tactical team.
And I'm gonna go into like super fucking Uber mode to help you get through this.
Exactly.
But we're not gonna resort to this
irreversible thing that actually would have weight, but it's not going to because she obviously won't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been more rewarding.
It would have been and I actually would have walked out of that way higher on this first season than I am now. And I'm not totally as low as I maybe think you are, but I'm still like that soured me on the end. That put a little bit of tang on my tongue.
Two things we didn't talk about. McKee.
Oh yeah, McKee.
We brought her up, but like, what a weird way to do that, right?
It's just like, so both of her and John can use the artifact to find Halo for some reason, right?
Right. I think it has something to do with Forerunner shit.
Because they're both connected. Yeah, in some way. They don't mention the Forerunners in this one, do they?
They probably don't know they exist.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
No, Halsey knows they exist. The UNSC don't know they exist until they get to Halo.
Gotcha.
And they discover what Halo is, and they start researching it.
That makes sense.
And then they learn about the Forerunners. Because if you remember, the Forerunners are not mentioned in Halo 1.
No, they aren't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So I think, and that's easy to surmise, they don't know about the Forerunners until they get
I think that totally works. Yeah,
right, totally works for me.
That's not a weird thing at all. One thing I didn't love, which again, it's one of these things with video games where it's like,
are we talking about McKee still?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to talk about McKee a little bit. And the sex scene.
That's right.
So weird.
So she was found by the Covenant when she was young, and she just hates humans.
Sure.
Okay.
I guess. Right.
And then she can control the object, but like the Covenant don't like no grimy humans, even if they are the Blessed One.
It's weird.
It is. So like I'm
it's really
confused
strange
there.
Because it could have been like the Arbiter, right? It could have been.
I agree.
The Arbiter is the same thing as Master Chief on the Covenant side of things.
No, absolutely.
And apparently, by the way, Atriox is that brute.
I remember you mentioned
and I'm
that.
like, that's strange. Why wouldn't they make him talk or like say his name to like identify that he is like a named, Covenant, a named enemy?
I don't know. And then even like even having him show up as a general, like what's his name before the Arbiter? I can't remember his name. Like have him show up as a general.
Vadame?
General Vadme. What do you like? But like just name drop him in the back. Do something like I don't know.
And the elephant in the room, unless I'm going to move past McKee real quick. They still have something to do together.
Right, yeah.
No Halo.
I mean, we're
no
on
Halo
like
in Halo.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
we don't even get onto the ring.
So
I would have loved to see in the end. We were at Halo.
Which
right?
I'm going to pitch you my season 1 at the end of this, but continue. Yeah, no, it's just
like the Halo has no Halo. We talk about the Halo.
I mean, we see it a few times. Like, and listen, I think that you had to end with the Halo.
You had to end with the fucking Halo ring.
Like us getting to the Halo ring should have been season 1's.
Right.
Like that's what it should have been. Like us arriving at the hit.
We still don't know. And apparently, like, I'm going to call it the cartographer, the thing that maps where it is, isn't complete, and they don't know where. I'm like, so, like, what are we doing?
I think it didn't get to complete because she got shot.
Right.
So, like,
are we going to Halo next season or not?
Because Chief's obviously going to have to come back to use the artifacts because
they have
Cortana
they took it.
No, I know, but like, remember, Cortana, when she's in control, can't use the artifacts.
Right.
So they need Chief to plot the rest of the way to the Halo. Yeah, Makia, I don't know. She was very forgettable. I didn't really get her driving force. I thought her scene where she touches the artifact after they find out that she murdered an entire ship full of people, and she's like, no, you're going to pay. Bitch, you just killed like a ton of people, and you're like, oh no, you don't understand. Blah. She was also
cool use of the hunters, right?
That was really cool.
Interesting.
So that was the only shot we got of them, right?
Right. We don't get them full.
We get a leg shot.
We get the Lakogo, not the Malakogo, or whatever it is. Yeah.
And then all the worms come in. I didn't think that was good. A lot more violence in this than I would have expected.
That first episode, I mean, people are like the fucking
getting blown apart
by plasma rifles and shit, and then even the elites themselves are getting fucked up, and like, you know, that first battle is really cool, and they do this is a first person game we're adapting, so we're gonna
that was what I was about to say right before you said stop it.
Stop it! It's cool if it's done right, but like, it's so gamey that it's so, we know what they're doing hard.
In the last episode, it did turn into a Halo cutscene for a second there. Genuinely, like, it was all CGI, and it cuts to his guys. It's a first-person shooter.
I mean, you get the shield noises,
that's cool. All those little things are there, which I appreciated. You don't need to do the exact same thing from the game that you're making a movie of. Okay? Or show. You don't need to put it in first person. You don't need to do a specific backflip from Assassin's Creed in the movie. Like, just make the good movie and interject it when it makes sense. Show, whatever. They're interchangeable. I don't need a first person scene. I don't need a first person. And even the colors weren't right. It was all orange and shit.
Yeah, the HUD was like Reach's HUD, it looked like. Yeah, it's hard. It is hard to love this show. It's hard to like this show.
I wouldn't say it's hard to like.
Really? You watch this and go, you know what? Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Oh, well, no, that's different between like and enjoy. Like and enjoy are.
I would say they're, you know,
it was fine.
Comparable terms.
It was fine. I don't think it's this like affront to Halo and everything it stands for, and
I would say
it has nothing to do with what the games are, and the creators have no idea what Halo. They do. They know more than most people know about Halo, apparently, especially considering which storylines they tackle.
I don't think they show it enough. So I want to hear your pitch for season 1 or whatever. But I think it would have been interesting to do like 3 or 4 episodes. They discover the Halo and they get on the planet, and Master Chief is on there alone with, you know, just like we see in the game with
we don't see any other Spartans either. I just realized.
Yeah, I didn't
even think about that.
Yes. And like Silver Team is, you know, like retcon. We have a totally different team with new people. That's fine. I don't mind that at all. Actually, it's not Blue Team. It's a new team. We're gonna do new characters and do whatever with them.
Yeah,
fine. I'm actually okay with that. Because like I said, I really liked Kai.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to seen Master Chief on the ring with his team and some Marines and maybe Johnson or something like that.
Yeah.
And the show is very secluded to him, but maybe we have the detachment story where maybe Captain Keyes isn't on the ring and he's up in space with Halsey and Miranda, and then they're having their own story up there and the UNSC stuff. But like, they're totally detached. You know, no Soren, no Quan stuff. I was kind of cool for Quan in the first episode. But like, that's all they committed to. It's like they just were like, we got to write this out.
He just leaves her there.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't like. It was cool to see Madrigal a little bit. That's a planet from the lore, and we talk about it in the Re3 a little bit. Like, that Madrigal is from Marathon, Bungie's first game.
Right. Yeah,
that's where the word's from.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Do a planet, a little bit.
Fine.
I'm cool with seeing, you know, something we haven't seen before. But like, why focus on like the insurrectionist story? We're in the Covenant age here, you know. Like in the lore, like as soon as the Covenant attacked humanity, like the fucking insurrectionist war, like
is done.
They're like not a focus at all. The UNSC is focusing on fighting the Covenant, not fighting insurrectionists.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It does seem like they wanted to have so many eggs in so many different baskets.
And again, the UNSC being the bad guy, don't like it. Don't like it.
Sure.
They really do paint them in a bad light. Well, all of them.
Yeah.
Because and the Spartans don't trust them. And I think that it emphasizes that point more. That Master Chief doesn't trust the UNSC, doesn't trust Halsey. He doesn't trust anybody. And Master Chief in the show trusts all these things.
Yeah, well, he holds it very dear.
In 4, he deserves to go against the grain, right? Yeah. In this, he doesn't deserve to go against the grain just yet.
I disagree with that. I think finding out that you were kidnapped from a young age and then mutilated and killed a bunch of I think there is a legitimate grievance within that would cause that character to do something.
And my bias for Halo now comes into play.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe if you were Jimmy Bob and you've never played Halo and you don't know what to expect, they would agree with your point. And I don't think your point's wrong either.
Yeah.
But me as a Halo fan, knowing where this is coming from, I have a certain expectation and a certain bias and understanding of the lore that I kind of want you to adapt it, but Master Chief is already imprinted in my head. You can't really unimprint his character.
Well, I think you're talking about an issue with many video game movies in general, unfortunately. And it's a tough hurdle to jump when you have... I think Halo you have a much easier job with, or much easier time with, because there is such room to wiggle, and there really isn't a ton of story within those first 3 games. And I think as long as you focused on the Covenant War and ended it with Chief blowing it up and killing the Covenant... just got there somewhat within that outline, it would have been fine, but they want to give it their own flavor. And when it comes to a video game,
focused.
Exactly, it is, which I don't necessarily love.
Story, right.
But it also makes it much more accessible, and I do think if you're watching a show where half of it is just aliens speaking in another language the whole time, I don't know how much that holds up for people. I think it would be cool, and I
hate how Master Chief gets the shit beat out of him, out of his armor.
I agree. He was out of his armor way too much.
Seeing Master Chief weak when I think people against him aren't stronger than Master Chief, in the terms of the game's lore, is almost like you don't deserve. Like I said, it's not deserving of the Master Chief title. Sure. Master Chief is unfucking beatable, and we only seen him get his ass kicked a few times.
Sure.
It's not many.
But again, he's always in his armor.
Right. But
and that's the thing.
He shouldn't be fucking out of his armor that much anyway.
Bing, bang, boom, Gooch. I completely agree. No, he is genuinely not suited up enough.
No, he's not. That armor is iconic.
Every episode of this should have been a different...
The other Spartans are suited up more than he is.
Every episode of this should have been a Silver Team mission that led towards them trying to find the Halo. And the last 2 episodes should have been Reach getting glassed and him arriving...
No Reach... glassing, no destruction of Reach, and then Reach City got me. I was like, are you kidding me?
It's Reach, it's not Reach Planet. I thought it was
It's Reach Planet, but Reach City on Reach. Reach City on Reach.
There is New York. There is New York, New York.
No,
so
it's not. I don't even know. It's not called that. Shut the fuck up.
But it doesn't seem to be like the other Spartan training. Are there other Spartans?
Right. It doesn't seem like it is the hub.
It just seems like the hub of the UNSC.
Not the Spartan program.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. That is interesting. But yeah.
Right. No mention of Earth either.
Yeah, not really.
And they do mention Earth in Halo
enough.
Yeah,
enough. It's mentioned for sure. I'm trying to see if I missed anything on my
as you can see,
Halo
like
checklist.
I'm saying, I said at the beginning I was going to rant about lore. I have been ranting about lore, and
so bing bang boom. But that's everything on my list, Scooch. I can't think of it. We talked about Halsey. We talked about Spartan program.
Any gripes with CGI or anything like that? I think everything looks pretty good.
I think it looks really good. You know, it was funny. I know we've talked about this before, but how big the grunts are. How big grunts are.
Yeah,
I didn't seeing them in relation to soldiers and everything is really funny.
Also seeing in the last episode, the brutes using the you see the spikers and they're fucking huge, and I'm like, oh, okay, because they are big.
Yeah.
in real life. You just don't. You know,
even the needler.
Yeah,
it's big.
Yeah, I think they got like the sizing of the weapons and stuff.
They seem to absolutely do it. Yeah, really get it correct.
Yeah,
which is cool. Overall set design and just looks of everyone, great stuff. Genuinely.
Except for Soren's arm.
Oh yeah, Soren's arm, weird crab arm. I don't know what's happening there. The Prophets looked really good. Like some of the best CGI I feel like I've seen in a while.
Yeah, they look pretty good.
I'm curious how much of them, if it all was practical in some scenes, because like they looked great. They genuinely looked like they were in the scene for me.
And the elites looked good.
Oh,
the
they
different
looked
armor I was fine with, and then we saw the zealots at the end, which was really cool.
Looks great.
That ending battle, by the way, I thought they were gonna like, oh, we're going to the Covenant planet. JK, it's High Charity because they don't know it's High Charity yet. But I was like,
or maybe the Sangheli one, even like I don't,
right, Sanghelos.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, where are we? You know, there's no context to where they are.
It did look like just a big Halo map.
You're right.
Like it did. Like it looked like and then literally there's a sniper's tower. It's literally mirrored on each side.
It looked like something out of Haloid for those who've seen that. Have I showed you that? Where
I
it's
think
like
you have.
Monty Oom of Rooster Teeth, who passed away, did that, and it's like
that's right. I do think you mentioned
it's
that.
Master Chief, like Halo 2 era Master Chief, like fighting, and then like Samus shows up and they fight together, and it's like hyper anime, and like I like the fact that they got very like anime and like fucking Kai running faster than like everyone else, really showcasing the Spartans' abilities.
That was one scene I really enjoyed when she was running after Halsey's ship.
Yeah,
and like she starts sprinting.
You
and
can
jumps.
see the ability of the Spartan, and they only get into that in 5.
No,
like
absolutely.
In the intro scene where they're
genuinely. There was another part that I really liked when all the Spartans go in to talk to Miranda, and they all three of them walk in the room with the object, and they're just all looking down at her. I was like, that's great. They got the size right. It looks I do think
the armor's fucking fantastic.
It's fantastic. I loved not Kai. Who was the other girl?
Riz.
Her armor was my favorite.
Yeah. Like
I really liked that a lot.
They got the look and the feel of each Spartan, each individual. Like she had dual magnums. We've never seen like that. Kai's the sniper. Vanek is the
like the
DMR,
brute. Yeah,
and the Master Chief is just the assault rifle. You know,
great stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Mixed bag.
Season 2 needs to go on Halo. I think that's all I want.
So what do you want to happen at the end? Like with see, that's the thing that genuinely left that is making
they're
me
gonna
not
have
like
to
this
discover
as much.
Halo fast.
No, I guess I'm talking not even that. Yeah, I agree.
And
with
we
you on
got to
that.
get to the Flood.
But the Flood, I'm excited to see that reveal.
That could be cool.
I think that could be cool. What are we doing with Chief and Cortana? He's Chief Tana now. What are we?
And also Halsey's like in hiding.
I thought that was a good
the
reveal.
Use of her flash clone.
That was good.
I
didn't see it coming.
Very Halsey.
No, it was very Halsey. I didn't see it coming. Good stuff.
And like lastly, I think the acting is pretty good, except for Pablo Schreiber. I think the writing is the main.
Really,
issue.
you don't think he's good? I think he's playing exactly what they want him to play.
Right.
Like I don't think
like
he is exactly. I don't think he's a bad actor by any means, and I think physically, he really works.
Have you seen Orange Is the New Black?
No.
Apparently, that's.
I know I think he's in. What's that? What's like the crazy action movie for? I can't remember. It's not anymore.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Like, is it the Harry one? Maybe. Hardcore Henry?
No, not that. It's like an older movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, like I said, he's doing what they want him to do. So I don't put this on him at all. I think he's doing what.
No,
he's
I mean,
I personally
mostly
don't.
blame the writing.
I do too. I think this is what they wanted him to play,
and they had too much going on. You know, I think it was easy to tell a Halo story, and they kind of overcomplicated things.
And I think that's a major issue with TV these days in general. They need their multi-layered story plots for some reason.
Yeah,
and
CW shows are big fans of that.
Absolutely. So, I hope season 2 alleviates some of this. I really just don't know what they're doing with the whole Chief Cortana dynamic, and that really was what made me hesitate on saying I like this.
I wonder when they're gonna get in production. I mean, I assume they're writing it, but like when they're gonna start filming.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's been greenlit for a while.
Yeah.
So we knew season 2 was gonna happen. Like
Probably. Let's see. Loki's about to start filming, and when did that last season go out? Last year, right? So probably about a year, I would assume at least.
Yeah.
But anywho, guys, thank you so much for watching with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We very much appreciate it. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco, Nerd Network. We are on the social media pages. That my burp threw me off.
Yeah, it's like your burp threw.
It really did. We're on all the social media pages at Delco Nerds on basically everything. We have a Facebook page. We have a Discord channel. You can find all this information on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can email us your comments, questions, or concerns, DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.